Okay, let's check out Aronian's round 2 game now against the Bangladesh Grandmaster Rahman, who's 2516. So Aronian at the moment, his FIDE rating is huge at 2816. He was playing white. Was it a rollover? Was it a tense struggle? Let's have a look. D4, and Ziaur Rahman played D6. After knight F3, the rather adventurous bishop G4 move. I think this was a favourite of British Grandmaster Tony Miles at some point. And black now after C4 is voluntarily giving up the light square bishop, and now plays knight D7, which means that there can be a quick reaction, I think, for this attack on B7 to be able to protect B7. And also, of course, it's useful for playing E5 potentially. But is that the intention? Knight C3. Now C6 is played, and it's a difficult position really to assess with these double pawns versus the bishop pair already. White plays H4, which is not so much about a hack attack or anything. It's about gaining space on the king side, securing squares. E6, and now D5 is played, so black is prevented from playing D5, and he would have a kind of French defence structure without the bad bishop, bad in inverted commas, without the bad bishop. So D5, but it is white weakening his dart squares here in this position by playing D5. Black took on D5, played knight Gf6. Okay, bishop F4 targeting D6. The immediate threat seems to be now D takes and bishop takes D6. Black reacts to that by playing knight B6. And now white takes on C6, giving black an interesting couple of pawns here, which are not that vulnerable. They're helping each other potentially. But as soon as black plays D5, you can imagine dart squares being weakened. Okay, in this position, white now doesn't play a routine bishop move. He plays actually bishop A6, immediately threatening. It seems bishop B7. So how does black react to that? He defends the B7 square with rook B8. So who has emerged the winner so far from the opening? Would you say white's better with the bishop pair? Let's just engine check this. What does an engine make of this position? So white has got a small advantage potentially here. Okay. So Queen C1 is played. What on earth does this do? Why didn't white routinely castle? Black's not too worried by his next move. He carries on developing and trying to castle with bishop E7. Okay, but now one of the points is revealed. Knight E2 attacking C6. Black wants to defend that surely and not just routinely castle here. He defends it by moving it forward, which weakens some light squares, of course. And this pawn could be an awkward pawn on that D file later if it's fixed down on D6. Check. The knight goes back here. Now knight C3. So it's looking as though there's going to be a problem with D6 on the semi-open file. This backward pawn on the semi-open file. Both sides now castle. Knight B6. Rook D1. Look at white's attention now on D6. It's mounting here. Black now plays an interesting move using the fact that there's rooks on that B file and this bishop's slightly loose tactically. Black plays knight BD5, which seems a good move here. Even though black's still left with a structural liability, the D6 pawn. Is it so bad? White took on D5 and black takes on D5, so he's attacking that bishop and this bishop. So white's losing the bishop pair, and he's potentially still left with, you know, some weaknesses with this pawn mass here. Potentially they might not be ideal. But this next move looks as though it's slightly questionable. This pawn is now attacked, and there's various ways of dealing with it, like bishop G5, maybe H5. The move chosen is not really liked by engines actually, G3. It actually seems to engines seem to think black's equalised after G3 because of black's next move, Queen A8, just targeting F3 and the D5 here. From an engine point of view, it's not liked. A preferred move in this position. Well, actually, even Bishop H4 is not a threat of D6 here, so white doesn't even have to do anything about this pawn at the moment. You can just play Queen D2, just carry on building up on that pawn, not minding winning that centre pawn for the flank pawn. It looks a bit odd, G3, okay, from an engine point of view at least, but you know, has black virtually equalised now, because actually he's liberating his D pawn significantly with D5. Are these pawns a bit vulnerable? That's the question. It looks as though technically black's equalised against the mighty Aronian, which is a major achievement. Grandmaster 300 FIDE points lower than the Super Grandmaster in inverted commas, Super GM, the nickname given to GMs over 2700, especially over 2800. So Bishop G5. Okay, so black's done a fine job so far, it seems. And now, okay, he takes on G5, so white's getting these double G pawns now. His queen's nannying the B2 pawn, can't easily take that. Take support away from B2 here. Queen C6, Queen C3, Queen E6, and it looks as though, yeah, black solved in this position at move 24 most of the problems. What are the problems that black's facing here? He has to be a bit concerned about ever playing one of these pawns forward, because if he plays like D4, he's going to be weakening light squares, and C4 weakening dark squares. But okay, A4, he does play D4 here, and now rook A5, which looks awkward, and it is attacked, but the rook can just come down to A6. And okay, if black's given another move, black will maybe play rook D6, rook D8, or rook B8. There's nice options. So white now undermines D4 immediately with B4. That's taken. It actually takes B pawn here. And it doesn't look as though there should be that much going on. It's only two rooks and a queen each with equal on pawns, and white having not an ideal structure over here. And now with F3 attacked, so white doesn't really want to maybe take on D4 here. And G5 of course attacked, so white plays rook AD1. Okay, he lets G5 drop, it's only a double pawn, he takes on D4. But even so, is this a big deal, this position? White controls that D file, it could be quite dangerous. You have to look out for forcing moves as well, being dangerous. Okay, but again, let's engine inspect this position. It looks as though it's roughly about equal or not. About equal. It's not a major advantage for white anyway, but it's actually better looking than before. He seems to have got a little bit of something from earlier already. So where did that happen? This B4 here was quite powerful. Apparently maybe Queen B6 here, or Queen A6. So white was getting that control of the D file here. Okay, so let's return back. So Queen F6, Rook F4, Queen B6, Queen C4, and okay, we have to keep looking at the forcing moves as well as, and also look at a very common blunder in this Olympiad, the weakness of the last move, in particular when approaching move 40, the first time control under severe time pressure. For the moment, there's no tactics working particularly well at the moment because the queen covers d8. If it didn't, then there might be a menacing tactic available like Queen F7, Queen E6, Queen C7, and we've seen already on this channel an earlier game, a Nakamura game, where a tragic weakness of the last move, but here, believe it or not, we see this next move, Queen C6, which takes guard away from F7 here. Can you guess White's next move in this position? You may be able to, from earlier clue. If I give you 10 seconds, or you might want to stop the video, starting from now. Okay, yep, it's a tragic move on blunder on move 34, approaching that time control. Queen F7 is just winning on the spot tactically. King cut move, Queen F8. If this takes, then Rook D8 is classic mating combo. Yep. Unfortunate. Yeah, Queen F7 knockout blow. So Aronian seemed to get an advantage when he played B4, but before that there wasn't too much happening. Let's have a quick review then. So Black's opening did create an interesting game for the GM, 300 points lower than Aronian. Even though White's given the bishop pair and seemingly targets in the centre, these are not so easy to exploit. This move G3 looks a bit questionable, rather than just leaving this structure intact and just bullying more of the D6 pawn. So G3, Queen A8, nifty looking queen move. I think another point is a decoy actually. Queen D2, there might be Rook B2. We quickly just check this. Queen D2 is not possible now, I think. Queen D2, yeah, Rook takes B2. You don't want to lose that Rook like that, that's for sure. So induces that Rook retreat as one of the ideas. But there's other moves. There's a Rook D2 or Queen C4. Okay, Rook D3 is one of the choices though. And now D5, and Black's problems seem to be lessened. In fact, engines actually like Black's position here. So Black was doing quite well here, even with Bishop G5, that's fine. And somehow, yeah, D4 is a bit boring to play, but we have this situation now where I think White carved an advantage with B4. So there's a critical moment here. If we examine Queen B6, would it really help Black? Well, B4 is ruled out at the moment because Black can just take here and he's protecting D4. Is it just about equal? You can take on G5 here. Is that the strongest move to take with the pawn? No, take with the queen. That's fine because then G5 is dropping. There should be no problems at all. Machine there, but it looks as though Black was doing fine. Until White, yeah, he undermined with B4 here, and it started to go slightly in White's favour. Technically, he controls that D file. The queens are still on. He's got rid of his double pawn. These pawns don't look as bad, but even so, you know, with the structure, pawn structure, not amazingly dissimilar on both sides. You'd expect logically perhaps a draw, but we get this horrendous weakness of the last move, blunder approaching move 40. I think it's a very common class of blunder, and it's you know, when humans are in time pressure especially, to have a look at the very latest state of the move they've just presented, which might have a really good idea in mind here, like he's trying to attack the A pawn or get the queens off here with Queen C6. It's got a very nice intention, very good intentions, but unfortunately devastating move. Queen takes F7 has been allowed. So actually Aronian now at the round 5 stage has won 3 games, I believe, I don't think he was playing in the first match for Armenia, who beat Bolivia in the first round. He played in the second, third, fourth, fifth, and of course in the fifth he beat Ivanchuk, which we've just covered on this channel, which I hope you check out. Comments or questions on YouTube. By the way, this was a whitewash, this match. The Bangladesh team got wiped out 4-0 by the very strong Armenian team in round 2. Comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.